Bulls Nation, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Weekly. And of course, every single week for the Chicago Bulls becomes more important than the last. And obviously this week for the Chicago Bulls is extremely important for our season. But also, last week is very important for our season as well. The week we just faced with big news and unfortunate losses and overall questioning the team as a whole. The Chicago Bulls has their season on the line now. Every single game, every single play, every single possession, our season is in jeopardy. We've come to that point in the season. We don't have long to go, and every single game counts and matters. So let's talk about the upcoming games we've had, as well as the recent performances and results the Chicago Bulls have in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls weekly episode. Now, due to some recent events outside of basketball in many ways, I am not in the best of moods today. So if you know, you know. Of course, other sports around the world, I'm sure many people will have big news on that retrospect. And again, it does affect my mood today. So I'm going to try and keep this video short so I don't end up ranting or anything like that. But in the end, Chicago Bulls is still a very big, very important part of my life. And it deserves the utmost respect, so I'm going to upload the Chicago Bulls weekly, and I'm going to hope and try my best to stay very neutral in this video. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls upcoming week, and of course, the instances and opportunities that we have going forward to try and get into that play-in tournament. That is the key for the Chicago Bulls now, trying to fight every single game for the play-in tournament. And we are getting a little bit further away. We're getting sometimes a little bit closer depending on our results every single game, and every single game matters. So, in the Chicago Bulls Weekly, we obviously discuss the future games the Chicago Bulls will have for this upcoming week, but also the previous results the Chicago Bulls had in the previous week that we just faced. So, of course, as the first thing, we need to discuss the previous results. In the end, the Chicago Bulls played, I believe, 4 games this week, and in the end we went 1-3. We ended up going on a pretty bad losing streak. We ended up, I think overall, not just this week, overall we went on a 5-game losing streak for the Chicago Bulls. So in the end, a pretty disastrous time, and definitely the lowest point in the Chicago Bulls season. But our last game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, we managed to end that streak and pick up, I think, a very important victory. One that should have come sooner, but in the end, one that came and hopefully can continue to push us forward and take us into the next level. So the first game we had was against the Memphis Grizzlies, where we lost this game 101-90 in a dreadful third quarter performance that made me fourth quarter performance, my bad, which made me very upset as a Chicago Bulls fan. And again, it's not something that, it's the Memphis Grizzlies. In the end, I think overall they're having a better season than us. They're a better team. But it is a win, or I guess a game, where the Bulls expected to compete and win. And in the end, we lost by 11. But again, one really bad quarter is what sealed the victory for the Memphis Grizzlies. And especially, once again, happening in the fourth quarter speaks volumes for the Chicago Bulls the entire season. Our fourth quarter has always been a struggling point, and this game was no different. Then we faced the Orlando Magic. This Orlando Magic team was with Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter returned into the United Center, and the Chicago Bulls, with, in my opinion, a better team than the Orlando Magic, failed to show that we are a better team than the Orlando Magic, losing to the Orlando Magic 115-106. A terrible third quarter in that game, and that was one of those games where I just openly ranted about the Chicago Bulls. I didn't even give any form of structure. I just spoke what's on my mind, because in the end, losses like the Orlando Magic and quarters in the third quarter, I believe, in that game for the Orlando Magic is a disaster class, and it's something that in the end it made us pay, and we did pay. We paid a heavy price, and even though the score for that game is not a big score, that quarter was a massive quarter, and it shows the Bulls' embarrassment once again. Then we faced the Memphis Grizzlies for the second time in 1 week, and we lost this game 126-115. This was obviously the first game without Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine had a issue to take him into the NBA health and safety protocol, so we will be playing a lot more games without Zach LaVine, pretty much more than half of the rest of the season without Zach LaVine. So we need to be prepared for these moments. And this game, we fought hard, but we did once again let us slip away with one bad quarter. And that is all the Memphis Grizzlies needed to win the game. And finally, we picked up a huge victory against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 106-96. This game was a very strong defensive display. I think offensively, we still didn't really bring much to the game, but defensively, we stopped the Cleveland Cavaliers. And in the end, we outworked the Cleveland Cavaliers for the victory. And that is when I said, we need to outwork teams because that is how we're going to get our opportunities to win. So that is the results for the Chicago Bulls in the previous week. We went 1-3. Very disastrous week in my opinion. Overall 5-game losing streak that was broken against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And once again, we now sit 11th in the standings for the Eastern Conference. The Toronto Raptors have fought back. I assume they picked up a victory and they are now in the 10th seed. They beat the OKC Thunder and they've got the Brooklyn Nets in the next game and the New York Knicks. So in the end, difficult time for the Toronto Raptors coming up. But the Chicago Bulls, we also have some difficulties. Of course, the Wizards now are battling as well. It's between these three teams at the moment. Obviously, Cleveland is a team on the outside that could still make their way in. But right now, it's between the Raptors, the Bulls, and the Wizards. So who's going to come out on top in that fight for the 10th seed? Because I don't think the 9th seed is going to be available unless the Pacers decide they're going to lose a lot more games than what I expect them to. So it's the 10th seed now for the Chicago Bulls. Who's going to have it? And right now, we are on the outside looking in. And it's going to be a difficult time, but hopefully we can find a way to win in these circumstances. That's all we can do. We don't have Zach LaVine. He's our best player. He's out. We just need to keep fighting for every game, and hopefully we can walk out of some of games with a victory under our belt. That's all we could truly say about the Chicago Bulls. Now it's time to give the 3 awards for the Chicago Bulls. The 3 awards that I like to give out are the Must Improve of the Week. Obviously, you have the 6th Man of the Week, and then you have the Player of the Week overall. So, once again, it's a very difficult week to determine these awards because we did have some starting lineup changes throughout the entirety of the week. So, Must Improve, obviously, 6th Man of the Week are going to be very difficult, in my opinion, to decipher just because we've had rotational changes. So, for example, Thaddeus Young had 2 games off the bench this week and 2 games starting. Very difficult to say he's our 6th Man of the Week. Obviously, you had Kobe White going to the starting lineup this week when he's definitely another one that's very hard to decipher. So it's going to be very interesting to see the awards that I do give out. I'm going to try my very best to keep this as not biased as possible. And we're going to kick things off with the Must Improve. The first one we're going to give is the Must Improve. The Must Improve, in my opinion, is the most difficult one to give because, again, with certain minutes being changed, certain lineup changes, and obviously people playing good and badly at certain times, it's very difficult. This is probably the hardest one every week I give it to. And outside of one game, I think I'm going to give it to Larry Markkanen. Larry Markkanen against the Cleveland Cavaliers was absolutely fantastic with 16 points, 6 rebounds. Many people actually viewed him as the player of the game in that game against Cleveland. But outside of that, he didn't really have a tremendous week. So maybe giving it to him based on 3 games out of the 4, maybe that is seen as okay. Maybe I am having a little bit of bias because I expect a lot. Again, expectations, potential, all of that comes into play in many ways. But again, was he the absolute worst performer this week? I actually don't believe he was. I think there were worse performances overall this week. But in the end, it's also my expectation of him. And maybe that is something I shouldn't really put into these factors and just solely focus on the performances. But again, I really thought outside of his 16-point and 6-rebound game, he wasn't terrific. There was a game within this week where he had 0 points for the Chicago Bulls. There was a game where he only had 6 points and 1 rebound. There was a game where he had 3 points and 4 assists. So those 3 games have not been great for Larry Markkanen. But the 16-point game was absolutely superb. And thankfully, that was the last game that we've played, which means he might have the confidence to go and do it again in our next upcoming game. And that's all I could really say on that retrospect. He is my must improve, but hopefully the last game will be the representation of Larry Markkanen next week and going forward. That's all I could say. All I could say is hope. It's very doubtful that will happen. Again, we've seen 4 years of this, but hopefully we can see that level from Lauri Markkanen coming off of that bench. And the Bulls need to do a better job of getting him involved, and he needs to be better in his shot selection and being very diverse in his scoring. And I think if we can see that consistently out of Lauri Markkanen, we're going to see a better Lauri Markkanen. For the sixth man of the week, I'm going to give it to Daniel Theis. Now, in the end, Daniel Theis is a player that played 2 games coming off the bench and 2 games starting for the Chicago Bulls. But his bench production when he was playing off the bench was absolutely sensational. And again, he's that type of guy where I don't really consider stats to show Daniel Theis' effectiveness. In the end, he has the stats to back him up off the bench, and maybe on the starters, it's not necessarily really showing it for him. But again, he's one of those guys where I don't define stats as production for Daniel Theis. But again, it is what it is. But off that bench, he had a 16-point game in 2 of the games for the Chicago Bulls. The one against Orlando and the one against the Memphis Grizzlies. So I think it's fair to say the Chicago Bulls with Daniel Theis has been good so far, starting and coming off of the bench. But the bench production for those 2 games, I think, was superior than a lot of bench production coming out of a lot of our other players, including Kobe White in that retrospect as well. So in the end, I think this one is a fairly simple one. Hopefully, people could see that in the end. If I'm wrong, let me know. I would love for you guys to play along, give your awards for every player, and let's see what we could do in that retrospect. And the player of the week. Now, this week is a bit interesting because Zach LaVine only played 2 games this week. So I think in fairness to that, I'm going to give it to Nikola Vucevic this week. But I thought the 2 games Zach LaVine played in the first 2 games of this week was much better than Nikola Vucevic's games, in my opinion alone. And maybe that could sway your opinion to pick Zach LaVine this week. But in the end, he only played half of the week. So that is very difficult to give it to him as the player of the week. And maybe if Nikola Vucevic was not on this team, I probably would give it to Zach LaVine, in all honesty. But in today and this week, I really thought, in my opinion, Nikola Vucevic, especially in the last 2 games, played much, much better for the Chicago Bulls. And hopefully, this is only a glimmer of what we can see out of him going forward. In the end, these trades have put a number on us in many ways. We're very excited about the future, but also we are suffering for it now because of the team chemistry and the gelling together. And again, obviously, Zach LaVine missing some time that's going to hurt us. But again, I truly believe Nikola Vucevic coming to the Bulls is a great move, and I will not disagree on that until proven otherwise. And there's been not enough time to prove that Nikola Vucevic has been a good or bad signing, I guess. So I truly believe it is a good signing, and I think we will see the benefits of him in the future. And he is my player of the week for his last 2 performances for the Chicago Bulls. He stepped up in a very big way in my eyes, playing more in the paint, the post hooks, obviously the playmaking in the post, as well as his perimeter game. I like when he's versatile and he's not focusing on just the perimeter. I need him to do everything on the court. And again, that is something that is asked a lot. We're asking a lot of him, but he's that caliber of player that we have on this team. He's currently the best player on this team. And in that retrospect, he has to do a lot. It's unfortunate with Zach LaVine out, but he has to do the bulk of what the Bulls need him to do. And he stepped up in the last 2 games, and we got 1 win and 1 loss out of that. And those are my awards. Let's go into the upcoming week for the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, the next game is very soon, later today, against the Boston Celtics. Now, I have a friend that is a Boston Celtics fan, and what he's telling me is that there are a few players that are questionable for this game, and very good players at that. Apparently, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, a few of the other players are questionable for this game. So, again, I wouldn't say I would trust back at 100%, but if that's what I've been hearing from my friends, who obviously is a Boston fan, he would know more about Boston than me. So I would trust his word on that. But again, I'm not really asking you guys to trust that. I would expect. My mentality is we're versing the best Boston Celtics team that there is at the moment. They're on a 6-game win streak. I don't know if their players are in or out, but in the end, we can't be thinking that just because Boston Celtics are weak, we play to their level. We need to act like we're versing the best Boston Celtics team there is. Simple as that. I don't care if Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown are playing or not. We need to act like they are. We need to act like we're playing the best team that Boston Celtics can provide. And at the end of the day, if we're going to play with up to their high expectations, obviously the 6-game win streak, if we're going to play to their level, we're going to play to their level with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, in or out, we'll have a chance to win this game. In the end, it's very optimistic if they are out. And it's unfortunate that they're out, but again, we can't control that. Zach LaVine's out for us, so we can't control that situation for them. It's difficult. It's not easy for the Boston Celtics or the Bulls, but we have to beat what's put in front of us, and we need to have that attitude that we're versing the best Boston Celtics team that is there. We need to verse the very best. We need to try and beat them, and again, try and save our season. And again, I don't know if those players are going to be out or not. We shall wait and see on the time. Again, they've been questionable, so we shall wait and see how that goes. Then we've got the Cleveland Cavaliers. Once again, this is the last time we will verse the Cleveland Cavaliers. In my eyes, this is a very important game as well, because Cleveland are, I guess, how do I say it? They're the outlier team. They're the team that many people don't expect to be in the play-in tournament, but one of the only teams that are below them that still have the chance. They're 13th in the East right now. They're the outside bet for many people to try and fight for that 10th seed. Again, many people won't believe the Cavs can have a chance. I truly believe the Cavs still have a chance. So they're going to go into that game, I guess, the underdogs, and it's going to be up to the Bulls to shut them up for good, or it's going to be up to the Bulls to disappoint once again and allow a rival to come into our position and take our spot. So that's going to be a very interesting game as well. Then we got the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets is going to be a very tough game, especially at this point. They're currently 8th in the East. They have a 28-28 record, I believe. Sorry, my vision is a bit off. And that's going to be a very interesting game as well. We versed the Hornets once this season, I believe, and we picked up a win against them. But again, the Hornets have always been a difficult side for us to face in recent years, so I'm expecting no different there. I'm expecting this game to be close. Obviously, LaMelo Ball is out for them. Zach LaVine will probably still be out for us. So their best players and our best players are going to be missing. So I think that's going to be a very even game in terms of the oppositions that we're going to be facing. And then the last game for the Chicago Bulls will be against the Miami Heat. Again, we versed the Miami Heat before without Bam Adebayo, and we lost. I think we lost convincingly in that game as well. One of the more embarrassing losses for the Bulls. So yeah, that's going to be the hardest game of the week in my eyes, and hopefully we can do something there as well. Again, actions speak louder than words. I can say we have a chance against most of these teams, but the Bulls have to believe that, and the Bulls need to act like they do as well. It can't be me just saying that we have the chances and the Bulls going out and disappointing. In the end, if Boston Celtics are a weakened side, we have a chance. If Cleveland are going to play the way they played in their last game against us, we have a chance. Hornets with their missing player out, we have a chance. And Miami, I don't know the Miami situation, I haven't kept up with them, but again, they like to keep things relatively close and not a team that's going to blow you out. So in the end, we have a chance there too. So let's see what the Chicago Bulls are going to be made of this week. Obviously, with this, I expect 2 wins. I really do. I expect the Bulls to get 2 wins out of this week. In the end, that's a lot to ask for without Zach LaVine. And again, we don't know which teams we're going to be facing, who's going to be out, who's going to be in. All these situations, I don't really know. But I want 2 wins out of this week, and I'm hopeful that I will get 2 wins out of this week, because after this week, we've got a very difficult stretch. Looking at the week after this week, we've got the Heat, the Knicks, the Bucks, the Hawks, the Sixers, all of them relatively difficult games. There are some winnable games in there. I think the Bulls can win some games in there, and other games, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Bulls. I'm not going to say we're not going to win them, but this stretch after this week is 10 times more difficult for the Bulls. And in the end, we are going to struggle, and it's not going to be easy for us. So we have to capitalize on the games that we have this week. Let's see if we can do it. That's all I can say. Let's see if the Chicago Bulls will be able to do it. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Take care.